Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Daily News X, your friendly, no bluff briefing on what's happening right now with the scams, banks, and how to protect yourself and your loved ones. So today we're talking about a frightening trend, how scammers are wiping out Americans' banks accounts by the numbers, and how they're doing it. So let's dive into this so we can understand better what's going on to these people and what is the situation with some banks. So this is a growing trend, and it's very scary, by the way. Scams are nothing new, but what's happening now is a little bit different. The tools are smarter, the impersonation is more convincing, and the stakes are much higher. We're seeing deepfake voices, AI-generated videos, urgent phishing, push payments, and people are losing some serious money as we speak. So the recent data shows that in 2024, U.S. consumers reported losing more than $12.5 billion to fraud. That's a 25% jump over 2023, just so you know. So the FBI Internet Crime Compliance Center also reported that in 2024, over $16.6 billion was lost to online scams only. That's an averaging more than $19,000 per case. That's the average. So yeah. When I say scammers are wiping out bank accounts, it's not hyperbole. It is some serious business right now. And a lot of people are being scammed, especially right now in Florida and some other states. Now, the big question here is, guys, how are scammers getting access to your account? They're using some different methods. And here are some of the ways criminals are breaking into your bank account. And I'm going to explain to you this right now. The number one tool they're using is deepfake voice and AI impersonation. With just a few seconds of someone's recorded speech from a social media or even voicemail, scammers are cloning voices and calling victims pretending to be family members, bank reps, or even government agents. These deepfake calls are increasingly believable because the new Sora AI, which is an open AI video generation tool, has alarmed the experts. It makes it even easier to create convincing videos or voice impersonation without obvious signs of manipulation. It looks very real, very realistic, by the way. And I've seen it. And a lot of other AI companies are using this as an open source to serve their own AI integrated platforms, content. Another tool that they're using, number two, is voice calls, or better known as phishing scams. So beyond the deepfake, many scams still rely on voice calls. Oh, your account is compromised. What are your credentials? Or you have to move funds. So some scammers pose as a tech support, by the way. IRS agents, bank security, whatever will scare or push you to do this type of move. Number three tool, push payments, fraud, authorized transfers. So instead of breaking into your account, scammers trick you into initiating the transfer yourself. This is called authorized push payment fraud. You're convinced to send money to them, thinking that you're fixing something when you're not. Another option, malware, trojans, or made-in-the-browser attacks. These are more traditional, but still effective. It's very old style. Malicious software installed on a user's device intercepting bank logins, adds hidden instructions in your browser, or alters transactions. One known example is the tiny banker Trojan called Timba, which has targeted major U.S. banks, for example, TD Bank, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. You get the picture. By stealing login credentials and injecting fraudulent transfers. Number five tool, pig butchering or romance loan con scam. This is a very old school, but it still works. These are long horizon scams. The scammer befriends a victim online. It could be this scammer could be in India or China or somewhere else. So romance investing chat mentoring. Builds the trust over weeks or months with the person, then pushes to a large transfer or investment. Oh yeah, I'm a hot girl. I'm here, bring me some money, please. So in recent study, such accounts between March to October 2024 were tied to over 521 million in losses, just to let you know. Now, which banks or institutions are under a lot of pressure? Right now, it is hard to get the list of these exact banks and currently getting hit the worst because many of these reports we don't have them. But we got a few hints or confirmed cases. That's all I can tell you. For example, Wells Fargo mentioning news stories as having customers tricked by scammers, posing as a Wells Fargo support tech. Regions Financial or regional banks, they've been reported large losses from check frauds and international scams attempts. One year Region posted $135 million in check fraud losses. The malware targeting Timba reportedly infected customers of Chase Bank, Bank of America, HSBC, and PNC. More broadly, many credit unions, local banks, and victim firms are especially vulnerable. They often lack the deep resources for advanced fraud detection. So banks are under increasing pressure to upgrade fraud monitoring and customer education, but the attackers are evolving very fast. They're getting more sophisticated. Now, here comes the big question, guys. Who's losing money and where? Well, the FTC reports that $12.5 billion in consumer reported fraud losses in 2024, just alone. Of that, $2.09 billion loss was specifically via bank transfers, meaning payments, because these scammers convince people to send money directly to other people or out of the country. In 2024, the FBI reports average losses per scam of over $19,000, like I mentioned before. It is the most serious reported once, by the way. So that's just the tip. The average across all scams is much lower. $545 is a commonly cited average loss. That's a standard, basically, per person. So in scams targeting older Americans over 60, the FBI says more than $3.4 billion was stolen just alone in 1 year. So yes, losses range from a few $100s to tens of thousands of dollars. This is depending on how deep the scam runs in your system or in your phone or the area or the software that they use. Here comes another question. Which cities did you see the most scams? Well, I tried to find a research, and see any list or any, but unfortunately there was no definite public reporting listing yet as CDAs as the worst from A to Z, whatever. But we can say that metropolitan areas with dense populations and high banking usage, for example, New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, and Houston, they tend to have more victims simply by the numbers. Some anecdotal and regional news coverage shows scams proliferating in Florida, specifically Texas, and part of the Sun Belt where older populations are higher. Florida, watch out. Rural or remote areas can also be vulnerable if local banking or tech infrastructure is weaker and people rely more on phone assistance. Now, what do you think is the most groups most affected, by the way? If you take a guess, it's yes. Older Americans, 60 plus, are heavily targeted. The 3.4 billion loss number is for victims over 60 years old. But when it comes to losing money, big time, younger adults often have higher proportions of losses. So trick your mind, right? Generations Z, 18 to 25 years old, victims of 53% reported losing money after a scam. Millennials also lose at high rates. I'm one of those, but not on the list though. So far I haven't lost any money, but it could happen to me anytime or anybody in my family. In a lifetime experience, baby boomers, ages 61 to 79, and Generation X, 45 to 60, report the highest exposure rates. 72% and 71% respectively say they have faced financial scam at some point. So in short, older folks are prime targets, especially for big dollar scams. Younger people often fall prey to mid-level scams. Not that bad, especially online. But honestly, everyone is vulnerable in one way or another. So the big question is here, guys. What can we do in your family to stay safe out of these problems? Well, here's your consumer shield, by the way. Practical steps you can do, security measures, and habits to protect yourself and your loved ones. I'm going to give you a couple of behavioral and awareness strategies. Tip number 1. Always be skeptical of urgent calls or threats. A scammer will try to pressure you. Oh, your account will be closed. unless real banks don't usually do that. So don't fall into that. Lock down your public voice or video content. Reduce publicly available voice video recordings because they can be harvested for deepfakes. Use a safe phrase or code among trusted contacts, family members, or close friends. Agree on a secret phrase that only the real person will know, to verify unexpected calls, right? So pause before transferring. If someone pressures you to transfer right now, insist on verifying by calling back through a known official number. Don't trust your caller ID blindly. Scammers can spoof numbers to make it look like they're calling from your bank. This sort of steps you can take also in other technical and security measures I'm going to mention right now. And one thing you can do is enable multi-factor authentication, better known as the MFA, or two-factor authentication, 2FA. It's an old system, less secure. Prefer hardware tokens or authenticator apps rather than SMS where possible. More useful, by the way. Use a strong, unique password. Use your password manager. They can help you with that and assist you with that in that system or AI system. Monitor accounts constantly. Set alerts for any transaction or for large withdrawals. I'm one of those that has an alert that if the account is more than the drawing is more than $500, I get an automatic message coming to my phone saying that amount has to be taken from my bank account. Use bank fraud protection, transaction monitoring. Many banks allow you to flag initial transactions or set limits. Segment accounts. Don't keep all your money in one account. Keep walking around money and separate from long-term savings. Use multiple different banks so that way you have your money spread out to different banks accounts, at least 3 banks. Limit permissions. Clean up all accounts. If you don't use them, delete them. Because, you can hold a lot of secure information. You don't want that to be there. Update devices. Patch software. Malware takes advantage of outdated systems. Always patch your phone. Install trusted security software, especially on phones and computers. When possible, use read-only banking modes or view-only accounts for some banking tasks. Ask your bank about voice fraud detection features or whether they can flag calls. That's a very important feature, and that's something that can help you, I think. Community and family safety. Please educate all the family members and caregivers because it's the most, critical, for these scammers. They are very prime targets, by the way. Encourage open discussions so people feel safe admitting they got a strange call. Help set up the above security 2FA alert for your loved ones. Kids, older ones. Offer to help check suspicious messages or calls. Please don't respond. Let me see it first, all right? Report scams immediately to your bank, to the FTC, or to the local law enforcement. The sooner that you act, the better chance of freezing or tracing the call. All right, guys, so what are my final thoughts on this? On all these people and these scammers? Well, scammers are getting smarter by the day. They're using sophisticated AI tools like Sora and voice cloning, and these are turning what used to be obvious red flags into believable lies, by the way. But the power still lies with you, your vigilance, your habits, and your tools. So if you take one thing from this, never feel rushed or coerced. Scam pressure often relies on forcing a fast decision. So please, slow down, verify first, and lean on trusted channels only. Stay alert. Share this with your friends, parents, and the most vulnerable, grandparents. Anyone who may be less aware. Because the more eyes and ears and cautious minds we have, the harder it is for these thieves to win. Thanks for tuning into my daily news X. Stay smart, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Have yourself a great day.